The interview may be over, but the conversation is only just beginning.
So grab a cuppa and join us in the lounge as we unpack the ideas, stories and moments that stirred our buckets as we explore what they might mean for our families, our children and ourselves.
Welcome to Raising Kind Minds.
Because your voice today becomes their voice tomorrow.
In our last episode, we sat down with Dr. Chris Germer, clinical psychologist, Harvard Medical School lecturer, co-developer of Mindful Self-Compassion, and one of the world's leading experts on shame and self-compassion.
This conversation raised a question that every parent could consider. If every child learns how to speak to themselves, who are they learning from?
Today we're unpacking some of our biggest takeaways from Chris's wisdom. From shame and self-criticism to self-kindness, resilience, and the simple power of taking one breath in for ourselves.
And we'll be exploring why helping children develop a kind inner voice might begin with the way we speak to ourselves.
Let's dive in.
So what was one of your biggest takeaways?
Well, I think the biggest golden gem for me was when Chris talked about, he took us basically to giving birth. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do actually.
And it just touched my heart so much that my imagination went straight there. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, what he did was Chris described being born. And in the moment that we're born, everyone in the room celebrates the fact that we take the first breath in for ourselves.
And the crowd goes wild.
Everyone celebrates.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love this. It's not just a living truth, but a beautiful metaphor to say, when do we do that for ourselves now? At what point do we, in our life's journey, do we stop saying it's okay and celebrating that we take that first breath, that we inhale for ourselves?
Yeah, because so often we're just so focused on giving, and contributing to everybody else, especially our children, it could be our parents, even our neighbours and good friends. And just, it's all outward facing. So it was really great when Chris reminded us actually that first in-breath, where everybody in the delivery suite celebrates, was just for me.
And it's the first thing that we do for ourselves. Yeah. We breathe in. So we'll be sharing a beautiful meditation specifically focused on this.
Yeah, that in-breath.
This beautiful in-breath. And of course, we breathe in for ourselves and we can breathe out for others, which is, as you're saying, we're giving, but everyone try it now. Can you breathe out? You're going to need to breathe in again.
Exactly.
And we need to breathe in for ourselves. So we'll do a lovely meditation specifically that will be in a separate audio that you can connect with and enjoy. But this wonderful reminder about breathing in for ourselves, and we need to have that lovely, nature knows what to do. Nature shows us quite effortlessly, we breathe in and we breathe out. We can breathe in for ourselves, breathe out for others. But at some point, certainly for myself, I felt it was almost maybe a cultural origin thing that actually it's good to give.
Well, it's certainly what we've been trained with our whole life, hasn't it? Well, certainly from early, depending on how you've been brought up or what. But certainly as you and I have discussed, our lives, even though we grew up on opposite sides of the planet, it is freaky just of our parallel lives and happening at the same time. And this giving. I mean, Kathryn and I both were brownie guides. Good turn every day.
Do a good turn every day.
So we're looking out all the time. How can we be of assistance? How can we... Well, I grew up with this mantra that I embedded for myself. It's just like, how can I make your day better? And so with
and that's noble and wonderful.
and it was really like filled up my contribution tank beautifully.
Yes.
But what about the Liz tank?
Yeah.
You know.
Lizzie got forgotten.
And actually, Chris talked about that quintessential question in MSc. It's like, what do I need? It's just like, well, I'm not really sure what I need, because when I was reflecting on my very first MSc training, which was a wee while ago now, I noticed at the end of that week, because I did it as a week intensive, that I sort of wasn't really showing up in the fabric of my own life.
Well, you had a priority list, didn't you?
I wasn't sort of
You weren't on the list.
No.
I remember you saying that really plainly and clearly, and it was quite shocking, actually.
Yeah.
Where are we? Where are we on this priority list? We've got all these things to do. We've got these people to help. We've got that thing to sort out. We've got to do this thing for work. Where is the...
Just like any modern day parent.
And this is why I think this is so important, because we didn't have these skills when our children were young. And by God, it would have made such a difference. If I'd have given myself permission, Kathryn, you can pause, you can sit down, you can leave the mess. You don't have to be a
Even just take a few moments of breathing while waiting for the kettle to boil, or, you know.
Yes. And, that obviously we need to breathe in for ourselves, but also let go, that exhale. So having that lovely rhythm. Anyway, I won't labour the point, but excuse the pun there. Boom, boom. I'm here a week. Labour the point. But let's celebrate ourselves. Shall we celebrate ourselves?
100%.
Celebrate our ability. Now we have this beautiful wisdom teaching that this breath for ourselves is equally as important as the breath for others.
It's a two-way street, not just all one way.
One for me and one for you. Right. Your turn.
Well, I thought it was really interesting that Chris said so clearly about the, the fierce and the tender self-compassion, because if I think about Booster here, hello, Booster.
Hello, Lizzie.
So Booster is the personification of our kind, compassionate voice. And I really love it because sometimes Booster, always encouraging and supportive, my inner cheerleader. And sometimes my inner cheerleader needs to be a little bit tough as well, So,
like a coach.
Like a coach. Like really sort of clear boundaries. And so certainly since practicing turning down the volume here on Crusher, my mean voice, and bringing up the volume on Booster, I found that my boundaries are not quite as soggy. So, that could be a real fierce compassion to set clear boundaries.
Yes, so the qualities are protecting, motivating. It's like the Seven Dwarfs, I always miss one. And providing.
Yes.
And that's a very different energy to the tender self-compassion, which of course is supportive and soothing and tending to yourself and to your needs. And it's a very different energy.
Yeah.
And there's obviously lots of myths around, self-compassion, what's that? Oh, that sounds nice and fluffy. Oh, you're all so soft. And that's translated into obviously weak. You're weak. And self-centered, selfish, it's all about you, is it? I mean, all of those misgivings that are all incorrect. Because we know all the research, I mean, Chris said, there's been over 10,000 articles now and studies done on self-compassion. All the research points to the myths of self-compassion being the absolute antithesis of what they are.
Well, I certainly, from my own experience, have found that the more focused I became on self-compassion for myself, for my own journey, then, I don't know, it just sort of almost enabled me to be more compassionate to others because I was actually including myself and tending to myself as well.
Well,
so,
if we don't
considering
have
my own needs.
Yes. And of course, we know if we're running on empty, we've seen there's lots of studies, obviously, schools, teachers become more punitive. Parents, we're going to be more snappy. We've got nothing left in our tank. If we're running on fumes, we know it's much harder to access compassion. Healthcare professionals, there's been so much research.
Well, just like mobile phones, they don't run, you've got to actually recharge them.
Yeah, we need to be able to use them. Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to recharge. So we sort of went quite a long way around there, but covered quite a lot. I think it's really important to recognise, certainly for most of our students, and I can include myself in that, I needed a lot of tender self-compassion first.
Yeah, sort of warm it up.
I had to really, really practice that. I mean, we're talking years before I moved towards that stronger, protecting, motivating self. Finding one's voice, if that's not been a habit, if you haven't spoken up for yourself for a long time, if you haven't set a clear boundary, if you haven't said no to other people for a very long time, then we need to build that muscle and we need to do it gently. Otherwise, it could get quite messy, I think, and painful. And we don't need to have that level of challenge when we're developing a new skill like self-compassion.
Now, the other thing that Chris is known for, and certainly we've spoken over the years, I mean, we've known Chris for a long time now, is that he is, he's an expert in shame and knows, he's done programs on it. He's got a new book coming out in October this year, October
I'm
2026.
Excited.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy to say excited about shame.
But he offered us some interesting insights, didn't he?
Well, I was actually blown away. I recently was blessed to participate in his 8-week course. And
specifically on shame.
Self-compassion for shame is the course, and it is intense. Understatement, really, really challenging. And when Chris talks about shame being everywhere, it's like, really? What's he talking about? And then you lift the lid and start to, they guide us, the origins of shame, where it might show up from little. So this is why it's so relevant.
He did talk about how young.
So young. And then you start to see it everywhere. But one of the pieces of, the absolute golden nugget for me, which just really shows me how important the booster weight is, even more so now, I did not realise that, let me quote him so we get this right. Children can get the full experience of shame by the age of 2.5.
2.5.
2.5.
Wow.
Now, I knew about the statistic that children become self-conscious. They recognise they've done all this research about, there's a separation. They become aware of the other person rather than, so when they play, and I'm no child development neuroscientist or specialist here, but as I understand it, they're happy to play with in the same space with each other, and they sort of bumble along. By the age of 2.5, then they recognise that that's another person. This is me. They have a toy. What might that person be? This is the bit that blew my mind. They start to consider or imagine what others might be thinking about them. Now that's just incredible. So if we imagine from such an influential age, we know that children are sponges. I mean, their brains are literally sponges. They are drinking in everything they experience, they see, they witness, they hear. For at least the first 7 years, their brains are really, really malleable. But I didn't realise that young that they might be thinking about what other people might be thinking about them. So what was the other thing that he said? So these negative interpretations, I mean, this is our negativity bias. It's incredible. It's kicked in so early that the negative interpretations then become internalised. So even without explicit criticism, you can be the most peaceful, groovy parent on the planet. If their little brain has interpreted something, what I call making up stories, we all make up these stories, our perception of something. So not necessarily any explicit criticism. A child may still conclude, oh, that must mean I'm stupid. That must mean...
Yes, because I think he talked about...
not enough.
It didn't have to necessarily be an incident or even like any big trauma.
Yep.
Oh, he even talked about just breaking a glass, which in everyday, it's an everyday occurrence. We've all broken a glass at some point.
Yes. Accidents happen.
They do.
But what do we mean?
Exactly.
And, the other, I'm not enough. Classic negative core belief. I'm stupid. There's something wrong with me. Why would I break that glass? What?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, thank you, Crusher.
Yeah.
Talking about it.
So this is our inner critic. So anyway, I found this absolutely remarkable because it's demonstrating how important it is to understand about Crusher, our inner critic, to understand that this is a natural part of our evolution. This has actually kept us safe. And of course, that is ultimately what Crusher's job is. But it just sounds like a real meaning in there. And of course, Crusher's delivery is pretty unpleasant on the whole.
Can be a little bit clumsy.
Unkind. And this is why, knowing that this is happening so young, now it makes sense because, of course, we've had parents saying, oh, yes, when I'm reading the voices in my head to my children, they've been 3 and 4 and obviously the stories and the characters and it's fun. But actually, it is speaking to a part of them that...
Well, they may already be bruised.
Yes.
2.5.
So at some level, even though we're not talking that logically they're thinking these things. I mean, I think by the age of 6, I was aware of my thoughts. I was, aware of, maybe 7, that I'm interpreting a situation and I'm spending time ruminating on it. But this I think this is really, really helpful for anyone that's working with children, that has their own children, to recognise actually there's complexity in the human brain. There's complexity in the psyche. There's it's exquisite that I think that there's real beauty in this, but also it does mean that we need to be modelling Booster's voice, modelling self-compassion, showing our kids are going to witness how we respond to ourselves. And therefore, we need to demonstrate. It's not that we're going to...
Yeah, so if we're in the kitchen or clearing the table and drop a glass... How are we responding to ourselves? What are we saying out loud that our children could be modelling or will be modelling? If I say, oh, come on, Lizzie, you're absolutely stupid or whatever else.
You're clumsy clot.
Exactly. But, you can say things as a joke and you can say things and it's all about the tone and...
Tone's everything and self-compassion, isn't it?
Your child will pick that up. So... I think it's really good that you've mentioned the modelling again.
Yeah, and this is why we need
Booster. We just do our best we can. That's why we have our self-compassion practice again. When we know that we haven't maybe been the stellar model, the
Well, and we're not going to be. That's the whole point,
just
isn't
do the
it?
best we can.
We're fully human. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. Please give yourselves a break. And that's including being a teacher, being a child therapist, sometimes we may not, as you say, be the stellar example that we'd love to be. And certainly as a parent, we know that we're going to be exhausted sometimes. I used to call it the twilight zone. From 5 o'clock till they finally went to sleep at 7, I was hanging on by a thread. And I knew this was an important part of the day. Bath and reading, bedtime stories and having that snuggle time and calming and all of that. And it was hard. It's like, can we please choose the shortest story? Anyway, so I think that's really exciting. Now, one other element I'd like to just mention as well that I thought was a really helpful distinction that Chris Germer talked about. And as I said, if you haven't seen this episode, there'll be a link so you can find it really easily. I mean, Chris Germer is the founder of Mindful Self-Compassion, and he's been living and breathing this work for a very long time. And then he's gone down a particular avenue, recognizing that a lot of our suffering is because of shame. And a lot of experiences we find really difficult in our life from little are shame-inducing experiences. Anyway, the little gem that I really wanted to underline was when he said, when we feel guilt, we attack our behavior. So we're judging that behavior and looking at it through, a guilty lens. But when we feel shame, we attack ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a really, really helpful distinction. And that's when Crusher gets really loud.
Yes, because when we're attacking ourselves, we're taking it on as true for us.
And this is what it means about me.
It's the truth, yeah.
And we can burn that into our belief system and we can't separate it from our behaviour. So what self-compassion does, of course, it opens the door to healing instead of self-condemnation.
Well, I'm pleased that we have finished on an up note there. I mean,
it's so powerful. So this is why we need to look, we need to look after ourselves. We need to have this awareness and we need to turn up the volume on our self-compassionate voice. And when we're talking about self-compassion, it may not be in your language. It may be a new concept for you. We're just simply talking about responding to ourselves just as we would a dear friend. Just kindly. Think friendliness and that's it. Friendly self-talk, that's what we are actually exploring. When we talk about booster, we talk about that self-compassionate voice, we talk about that kindness. Now, it's going to have different flavours, as we said. We could have a wise elder type energy come through because they've got perspective and they may, you may draw on that wisdom of living many years. And actually, it's going to be all right, my friend. It's going to be all right, It may be your best friend who's holding your hand saying, I've got you. It's okay. It's okay. You're not alone. And then there's, that coach. Come on, get up. Do it again. You can do it. So there's all these different flavours of self-compassion. And of course, we need all of those different flavours in our self-talk. And the way we speak to ourselves, it's absolutely categorically clear in all the research that the way we talk to ourselves will impact our physiology, impact our internal chemistry, impact the way we feel. So that's going to impact our mood and impact our stress levels, all of our chemistry, the stress hormones, everything. It's all interconnected. And this is why it's so important that we can help our children very young to develop that muscle, build the booster muscle.
Yeah, so they're
go to the kindness
gym.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because it can be learnt easily.
It is a skill that we can learn.
It can be learnt, for sure. Just takes practice.
It is practice. Just as we always say, you know, you're going to pop the kids in the bath. They're going to be nice and squeaky clean. And then after a day of play in the park, they're going to need another bath. And that's the same with our practice. It's the same with applying this new mindset, this new way of thinking, new way of responding to ourselves. It will take time. Obviously, if you're an adult and you've been beating yourself up for a long time, you're going to have to undo old habits as well.
Yeah.
But this is, oh wow, I can respond to myself differently. Oh, that was one of my notes.
But wait,
there's more. It was just so beautiful. He talked about his mother.
She's in her 80s, isn't she?
In her 80s, had this conversation. You know, so what is it you do, son? I love that. And gave her some skills to practice. And 2 years later, and her words were, I didn't know I was allowed to love myself. And it really resonated with me because I didn't know.
No. Well, you don't know what you don't know.
And because we heard so loudly the importance of helping others, being kind to others, and I really love that was in my nature, or certainly I responded to that in a positive way. No one had told me explicitly that I could include myself in that kindness. And to hear that someone in their 80s, and we've had students that are in their late 70s, and it's never too late to learn, and we can learn these skills, and how vital, just changes that internal dialogue from you're such a nincompoop and you're so rubbish and, you know, pull yourself together, terribly British one, that one, stop complaining, to, hey, my friend, this is hard. And let's do this together, you know, so you've got that inner ally. Anyway, that was another little gem. There were so many gems. I really recommend that you watch this episode. Are there any more before we close today?
Well, I think Chris's final booster words to us was just love yourself. So if we could model that for our kids, just loving ourselves. Because when we model it for ourselves, when we are offering it to ourselves and modelling it for them, for our children and loved ones, then we can be the invitation that they can do it for themselves as well. So,
and I will, as beautiful as that is, we have to name, you know, that there's going to potentially be a lot of resistance to that statement.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, just even the phrase, oh, love yourself. It's like, ugh. It's so syrupy. Oh, love yourself. Oh, yeah, let me just give myself some rose petals in the bath and everything will be all right. And
sometimes that's quite nice, though. Well,
but the cynicism,
rose petals, but...
you know, and the cynicism of that. And if you have had a lot of challenge and struggle, it just feels so shallow. So I think we need to acknowledge and name that. And that's it. And if that's the case for, you know, some of our listeners, please give it takes time to unravel that resistance. But, you know, when we were training with Chris, you know, he'd always say that, just love yourself up. We need to embody this so that we can teach our students, and we need to practice. And we're blessed that we've got a wonderful community, the Kind Mind Academy community. We keep each other awake. But if you don't have that, just loving yourself up sounds sometimes, I think, out of reach.
That's a really great reminder. It is. It can be. And the more you practice, then the easier it is. It's dose dependent.
It is.
So
I think it's a beautiful way to close, and it's really, really important to go gently as you explore this, because it does feel like a new language. You are learning a new language in your inner world. And
it may not be very comfortable, certainly initially.
No.
Because it's unfamiliar, perhaps. So,
exactly.
So be gentle with yourself as you navigate this new terrain of self-kindness. Thank you, Kathryn. Thanks for your insights, and I really appreciate that.
I just love
Always good
talking to you
talking
about
to you.
this
Yeah.
stuff.
One of the things I loved most about this conversation was the reminder that self-compassion isn't something we have to earn.
It's something we can practice, one small moment at a time.
And if you've been listening and wondering what that might actually feel like in your own life, join us next time where we'll guide you through a meditation inspired by our discussion with Chris.
A chance to pause
Breathe in for yourself.
and continue raising kind minds.
If this episode resonated with you, please do share it with a parent or a carer who might need to hear it today. Word of mouth is how we're growing this community.
Until then, treat yourself kindly, because every act of kindness towards yourself helps create a kinder world for the children around you. Here's to raising kind minds.
Starting with your own.